Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be tracking a major winter storm that will be happening across the several plains, vegetated through the Tennessee Valley, the Arctic region, up into the northeast here. And this is going to be a pretty widespread event across so many regions, which also can bring a chance for an ice storm. So let's go to get started with the watch warning map, and you can see here areas in the pink. These are all winter storm warnings. And this is pretty crazy. I think I've never seen anything like this before. I mean, the winter storm warning takes up all of Oklahoma and all of Arkansas, central northern Mississippi, western Tennessee, northern Louisiana, most of Texas, except for the far southern portions of Texas, and even including about two-thirds of New Mexico, and eventually getting to southwestern Kansas and eastern southeastern Colorado. Areas in this blue here, these are areas that are under a winter storm watch, which includes all of Kentucky, southeastern Missouri, southern Illinois, southern Indiana, a good chunk of Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, eventually getting into most of New York, up into I believe that's Vermont or New Hampshire there. Always get those two mixed up for some reason. But even includes the northwestern part of Alabama, even includes uh, around Lake Charles, Louisiana. That's pretty crazy. Even includes far southern Texas. That's pretty crazy. It's been a very long time since far southern Texas has gotten a winter storm watch. So this is a pretty crazy event. This does not happen a lot. You can also notice here we do have winter storm warnings and ice storm warnings across most of Virginia, which that ice storm warning does include Washington, D.C. as well, where ice amounts could possibly be over a quarter of an inch, where some of those areas unfortunately got a lot of ice. There was a report of 1 inch of ice somewhere in northern North Carolina. So, yeah, that's a lot of ice bringing in some major issues across those regions as well. And let's going to move on to the models here. So this is the European model. Now this is likely going to be underdone here since it's at a 10 to 1 ratio. Your Cachera snowfall amounts are going to be 15 to 1, which that could lead to some higher snowfall totals than what it's showing. So probably add a couple inches of snow, and that's probably what you get. But you can see here across, really went from eastern Texas, northern Louisiana, eastern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, western Tennessee, most of Kentucky, southern Indiana, most of Ohio, northern and western Pennsylvania, most of New York, up into New England states. You can see there a pretty good swath of 6 to maybe up to 10 inches of snow in some places in those regions there. Doesn't show a whole lot of snow for the summer points, but there's going to be a lot more snow than that across those regions as well. And this is the NAM, and you can see here, definitely quite different than what the European has. There's going to be a bullseye somewhere across western Oklahoma and portions of Texas, where some places may be able to get up to a foot of snow. Places like around Lawton and Oklahoma City, some of those places may have a chance to get up to a foot of snow. Then you can see here, there's a pretty good swath of some places getting over a foot of snow across really anywhere from most of Kentucky, southern Indiana, up into most of Ohio, northwestern Pennsylvania, and eventually get up to western and northern New York State as well. Some places may be able to get up to a little over a foot of snow in some places. You should see here, it does show some areas possibly getting up to 14 inches in some spots, which is a lot of snow when you think about it. Most of Missouri is just packed in with at least 3 inches of snow for most of Missouri. Similar situation for Illinois, Indiana, even Arkansas as well. Could possibly see quite a bit of snow statewide. This is the icon model. This has been the most consistent model out of the rest. It's likely to be underdoing these snowfall maps again. But you can see here a pretty good, a lot of areas could be seeing quite a bit of snow here. And again, it's probably going to be underdone. But it does show, like I mentioned, portions of Oklahoma, Texas, some of you guys may be able to get up to a foot of snow in some places, which there's likely going to be a bullseye down there. Let's look into the GFS model here, and you can see here, again, pretty similar to what the NAM has, a pretty good swath of a lot of snow for really anywhere from Kentucky all the way up and through Ohio, eventually getting into the interior northeast. And you can see our decent amount of snow across most of Oklahoma. I mean, most of Oklahoma could see quite a bit of snow, which that's some places getting at least 5 inches of snow just from the year. I'm at the GFS model, and you can see here, yeah, about 9, maybe up to 10 inches in some spots. So a lot of snow could be coming. Then you focus down across northern Louisiana, 6 inches, 8 inches. That may be a little bit too high for my taste down there to see that much snow, although some of those areas could see a decent amount of snow. Let's look into the high-res NAM. We actually now have access to the high-res NAM. And look at these snowfall totals across really in central Oklahoma down into portions of Texas, showing some places getting up to 16 inches of snow, which I believe includes Oklahoma City. So a lot of snow could be coming, and you can tell here for the other areas as well. It's quite widespread. Mostly everybody in a lot of these regions should see at least 3 inches of snow. Of course, there's a snow hole here, but I don't think there's really going to be much of any snow hole down there. It's in central Arkansas. Then if we move our view to the Midwest, we're going to continue up later down the road. Now, this does not go for the entire event, at least for the northeastern United States. It's going to take a moment here for it to load in all the way. And there's going to be two different waves for some of these regions here. So here comes wave number 1 here. Should bring a widespread 1 to 4 inches of snow for a lot of these regions here. There's going to be coming in 2 different waves. Then the second wave is your big time snowmaker, which you can see here showing a lot of these regions getting a foot plus of snow, which includes like Louisville, Paducah, Cincinnati, I believe up into Columbus, Ohio, and Dayton, Ohio as well. Could possibly see over a foot of snow, even Youngstown, Ohio as well could see quite a bit of snow. Indianapolis, this ball is spitting out about 4 inches of snow. I think that's just going to be underdone. I think you guys can see higher snowfall totals than that. But again, these balls are starting to now get better adjusted to some of these snowfall totals since we did have weather balloons get into the storm system back up to the northwest. So these balls should be more accurate to with the snowfall amounts and also how the storm dynamics are going to go. And you can see here showing a lot of these balls are showing higher snowfall amounts than before. This is a rapid refresh model, and this is going to be kind of an outlier model. This is pretty much done throughout the entire event. And you can see here 6-7 inches of snow. I think that's just going to be underdone. But you can see here decent amount of snow across most of Oklahoma, eventually getting into Missouri as well, getting a decent amount of snow. You can see here, here's another swath of quite a bit of snow, really for southeastern Texas into most of Louisiana as well. Pretty interesting, showing some snowfall bouts up to 8 inches. I don't think this part of Louisiana is going to see 8 inches of snow. I have high doubts with that one. This is the high-risk Canadian model. You can see here, it's definitely trending a little bit higher with snowfall amounts than the last update. You can see here, now it goes for the entire event. It has some spots, especially up into some of the higher elevations in the northeast, getting over a foot of snow and possibly double-digit snows all the way down into western Kentucky, and even for portions of Oklahoma, maybe into portions of Texas. Well, could see a chance for some double-digit snowfall totals, but it should be single-digit snowfall totals for most of Texas. But you can see here how large, quite a swath of snow this is going to be here across a lot of these regions here. Now, this is something I haven't shown on the channel before, but this is the GFS version 16, and this is in the works right now. And what this is going to do, this is going to replace the old GFS, and this one here should be better than the original GFS. You can see here it shows a different story than what the original GFS has. It actually had lower snowfall totals for a lot of these regions. You can see here there's a couple bullseyes here and there. You got a bullseye right around central Oklahoma, foot plus. Then you got a bullseye really from Cincinnati, Ohio, down into Louisville, Owensboro, Evansville, back down to Paducah. Could be a foot plus of snow. And eventually you got it up to the interior northeast as well. Some of those places could possibly see over a foot of snow as well. But you can also see a very widespread 5 to 8 plus inches of snow. You can see here it has the entire state of Indiana with over 7 inches of snow, which is kind of crazy to think about. And similar situation for Ohio, but southeastern Ohio, it's going to be a pretty close call for you guys. Same way for southeastern Kentucky, there's likely going to be a pretty sharp cutoff across these regions here. We'll be expecting a pretty sharp cutoff, but unfortunately, there's going to be some sleet and ice mixed in, which that's something I'm going to show you guys now. So this is the NAM, and these models typically overdo these ice amounts. You can tell where the track is for some of these ice amounts. And you can see here, decent amount of ice for a decent amount of areas here. It has ice amounts up to 2 inches across southern Mississippi, a decent chunk of Louisiana. Well, southern Louisiana, I should say. But that's likely going to be overdone. You see, there's likely going to be a swath of a quarter of an inch to half an inch of ice, which it goes through most of Mississippi, northwestern Alabama, central Tennessee, into southeastern Kentucky, kind of along the Ohio-West Virginia border, eventually into most of Pennsylvania, some of New York State, northern New Jersey, eventually get into Massachusetts and Connecticut. Could be a swath of a quarter of an inch to half an inch of ice. There could be some isolated higher spots in some of these places, but we're going to see about that. And this is the GFS model here, which done decently good last time. You can also see here it's a little bit more accurate with some of these ice amounts. You can see here a pretty good swath of really anywhere from a quarter of an inch to 3/4 of an inch of ice. There'll be isolated areas that could see a 3/4 of an inch of ice, but generally speaking, it's really going to be a quarter of an inch to half an inch of ice for some of these regions here. So we'll likely have ice storm warnings for a lot of these zones here as well, and that's what some of these winter storm watches are for in these regions here. It's mainly going to be for the ice, and it's not for the snow. Let's take a look to the Weather Prediction Center's outlook here. Now, this is the storm impacts here. You can see here, areas in the purple, that's actually extreme impacts across areas in the purple. As you can see there, there's a place down in southeast central Texas and a couple spots here and there. But areas in red, that's going to be major impacts. So any major impacts for this winter storm as well. And you can see here it includes right around Memphis as well. Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Lawton, Wichita. No, that's way up there. But anyways, areas in the orange here, moderate impacts for a lot of these regions here as well. Which if we move our zone up into the Ohio Valley, and again, that's not going for the entire event, but you can see here some of these impacts does go as far north as to Ohio, which is, you see areas in the yellow, that's minor impacts, but you really start to notice those impacts when you get into the orange and kind of beyond as well. So if really anybody in these regions here, like in the yellow, orange, reds, and purples, there's likely to be some impacts from this winter storm here. And we'll likely see some upgrades with some of these impacts when we get into the Ohio Valley and eventually get into the Northeast as well. So just to keep in mind of that. This is the snowfall forecast from the National Weather Service offices, which is going to look weird since we do have some disagreement with some of the National Weather Service offices. But you can see here, generally for most of Oklahoma, really 6+ inches of snow. Got some spots picking up possibly up to 9, maybe 10 inches of snow, especially across central and southwest central, or south central, I should say, Oklahoma, and leading into portions of Texas. But you can see where there's snowfall. There could be snowfall accumulations pretty far south as well. Around Houston, you guys may well have the chance to see up to an inch of snow, which is a possibility as well. You can see even around Memphis, could possibly see a little over 6 inches of snow as well here. So these snow cells likely going to be coming for a lot of regions. This is going to be a pretty widespread event. And something I almost forgot to show you guys here is to show you how this is going to be playing out. So we're going to use the NAM for this one. Yeah, let's look into the precipitation type. And we're going to do the timing with this. So this is what's pretty much going on right now. You got the ice storm going on across Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, and portions of New Jersey, eventually getting up to southeastern Pennsylvania. You guys will be dealing with some ice across those regions, but your wave is basically somewhere right in here. You're going to have a weak low be coming down something like this, going kind of along the Texas-Mexico border. Eventually, when it gets down to the Gulf, it's going to start to turn a little bit more to the northeast as well, and can pretty much do something like that. We're going to play this out. Now, these are isobars. These black lines are your isobars. Once I'll show you guys where your low pressure system is. It doesn't show you on here, but I'll show you guys where your low pressure system is going to be. So about around Sunday evening, you got widespread snow. This is a very, very large snow shield. Your snow shield basically includes most of New Mexico, northern Texas, central Texas, all of Oklahoma, Kansas, central and western Missouri, and southern Nebraska. This is a huge snow shield. It even claimed most of Colorado in northwestern Arkansas. And you can see here, while I was talking about coming in two waves, you got a weak low right here, but your main low is going to be right here. It's 210 millibars. But I was talking about two waves of snow. Here comes wave number one for the Ohio Valley. You can see our decent amount of snow. It could be heavy at times. I'm also been trending to a much stronger first wave of snow. It was likely to be much weaker, but now it seems like the malls are trying to trend that weak low to be a little bit stronger, which is interesting. Then here comes your big low right here. So your low is over southern Alabama. This is going to track to the northeast, eventually getting into the Carolinas and Georgia. You can see here, look at this snow shield. That is a large snow shield from northeastern Louisiana all the way up into New York. And some of these places could see a lot of snow out of this. You can see here as we kind of continue on later down the road, eventually getting into by Tuesday morning, it's back up into the northeast, up in the northeastern United States, and a lot of you guys are experiencing decent amount of snow. But there's some other areas as well experiencing some ice as well, especially for southern New York State, Massachusetts, southern Vermont, and New Hampshire as well. If we kind of back this up here, really at this point here, you can see there could be some ice issues across some of these regions here for areas that are in the purple. What in the purple color is basically freezing rain, and areas in the red here, excuse me, that is sleet. And some areas may able to pick up an inch or two of sleet, which is a lot of sleet when you think about. Sleet is just very, very small pebbles of ice, basically. And if you get 1 to 2 inches of sleet, that's a whole lot of sleet when you think about it. I mean, that is an impressive amount of sleet. Then we gotta watch this system here, and we'll probably go a little bit more detail about that some other time, but we'll probably talk about maybe in next video or something. I don't know yet with that one, but we'll see. But either way here, with this storm system, it's gonna be quite widespread. It's probably gonna be a little bit tough to forecast as well because with those catch error amounts as well, which I'm gonna show you guys my snowfall forecast. And this is by far the largest snowfall forecast map I ever made. And you can see here it is over a very large region. So let's kind of go through from the separate plains and kind of continue on up into the northeast. So we zoom in here. So really, most of Kansas here, you can see here, especially in the western portions of Kansas, some of you guys may be able to see 8 to 12 inches of snow, which I believe it's snowing in some of those places right now. It should start to snow across those regions at some point later tonight, eventually getting into tomorrow morning. Some of you guys may be able to see a decent amount of snow out of this. But your main bullseye is going to be somewhere right in here, where we may have the potential for 8 to 12 inches of snow, and we'll probably have some isolated higher totals in some of those areas as well. But areas in the blue, that is 5 to 8 inches of snow, which includes the Texas Panhandle, northern Texas, eventually getting up to southwestern Missouri as well. And then areas in this pretty much just original blue, most of Kansas, most of Missouri, most of Arkansas, and really kind of middle part of Texas as well. I don't know how I'm going to say that, but northeastern Texas, central Texas, and west central Texas. We'll put it that way. And even including northwestern Louisiana may actually be able to see another decent chance of snow as well. Now, southwestern Texas, we do have some uncertainty. There is some pretty warm surface temperatures as well, so there's going to be some uncertainty with the snowfall amounts down there. And let's move up into the Ohio Valley. So areas in the purple, that is 8 to 12 inches of snow. And there's going to be some areas that may be able to see over 12 inches of snow as well. And that's going to be something we're going to have to watch as well, which includes places like Columbus, Cincinnati, Lexington, Louisville, Evansville, and Paducah as well. And eventually it goes all the way up into through Pittsburgh, Buffalo, Rochester, eventually getting up to northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, eventually getting into most of Maine as well. Then you got areas in the blue here. That's where we expect 5 to 8 inches of snow, which includes Indianapolis, Memphis as well. One thing to notice here is that this is going to be a very sharp cutoff. You can see here how sharp a cutoff this is. You can see for Albany, New York, could be, uh, whoops, did not mean to do that. Albany, New York could be 3 to 5 inches of snow, which is a possibility there as well. It's going to be a pretty sharp cutoff, which is going to make forecasting quite difficult across some of these regions here. And the track of the low is really going to depend on some of these totals as well. And also to keep in mind, within some of these areas in the sharp cutoff, you can see some ice accumulations as well, and that's something we got to watch for. And then again, areas in the blue, which includes like places like Fort Wayne, Toledo, Champaign, St. Louis as well. Some of you guys will be able to see 3 to 5 inches of snow, and there could be some places that could approach over 5 inches, just basically due to the catch-error ratio. Some areas may be able to see a little bit more than others. It's going to be quite a tough forecast with that catch-error ratio being higher than normal. So we're going to see here. Some of these snowfall amounts are going to be a little bit conservative here as well. So yeah, on that. And you can see here 1 to 3 inch zone for basically for north central Illinois, and eventually getting into northern Missouri, which includes places like Peoria, Chicago as well, Illinois. You guys will probably see 1 to 3 inches, and eventually, last but not least, areas in the white. That's a coating to 1 inch, which includes far northern Illinois and also northwestern Missouri as well. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in this forecast. It's definitely going to be a tough one for sure. And again, like I said earlier, some of these snowfall totals are going to be a little bit too conservative, which that basically means here some of these snowfall amounts are probably going to be too low than what may actually happen. So that's going to be quite interesting to see what happens in some of these regions. But anyways, guys, this is ARC for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you really like my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, you can put in the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys' questions, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.